only want a wife and a son.
Daniel Kaiser.
Hey,
None shall pass.
none shall. I should probably
But
let
you
down
did
my hair
pass.
and do the actual Lord of the Rings thing.
Unleash the Kraken.
Okay, I will do this just for
And then
this.
can you do like, can we do a slow-mo when he does the hair? Oh yeah.
This is like from the game.
You kind of, yeah, you kind of look like, not Sean Bean, the other guy.
There you go. Let's talk about Lord of the Rings.
But none shall pass into Mordor, but you passed into Mordor.
Yeah.
And you were ranging.
I was.
You were ranging.
And I'm a Rangers fan too, NHL, but yeah.
And yeah, I think you guys had some good luck last night.
They won a game, so.
Sports reference for Ryan. That's actually amazing. But I'm curious, man. Mordor, Shadow of Mordor is one of those games. I got to see it debut to the press when the Game Informer cover came out. They had a bunch of press fly up for secondary stories. And it was one of those games that I'm like, wow, you guys are announcing this now, and it's awesome, but you would have really grabbed a giant spotlight if you had announced it at E3, because this Nemesis system has so much potential.
Right.
But I always also felt, I saw like a 45-minute demo, I also felt there was a little, they can say, oh, random things every time and stuff like this, but there's always a little smoke and mirrors. Not that the system doesn't work, but it may not just pay the dividends that it's gonna say.
Sure.
But they didn't let us play it, and you've played it. It also has a ton of other systems going on, so I've already said too much. So tell me, what's it like to actually play Shadows of Mordor?
Well, you know, I'll say this. Coming into E3, I was kind of skeptical. I think more positively, I was cautiously optimistic about the game. I mean, I love Lord of the Rings just like everybody, and the whole Middle-earth and the lore and all that stuff. But we've had a lot of games, and, you know, this one does definitely seem like it was trying to do something different. But my concern was always, shortly after it was announced, finding out about the Nemesis system, was how integrated that was. Like, if it's basically black or white. If you don't like the idea of the Nemesis system, you do not play or like this game. I mean, because it's integrated into everything. That's
Can I really quick? Nemesis system in a nutshell is basically all of the orcs have a ton of like variables and attributes, and they're all interactive with what you do and what they do with each other, independent of what your character does.
correct. Right, and it's actually, you know,
It's like a simulation.
It's
kind
like
of.
a simulation thing, and you can go as deep with it as you want, or as surface level with it as you want. But it's there, and it works, and it's pretty cool. But my point was that, like, you know, this is kind of very dependent on people utilizing the system and understanding it. It's not just something that's tacked on, and understanding that clearly, differentiating that some games will be like, oh, here's the main game, but we also have this kind of like crafting system on the side where, like, if you want to craft weapons and you want to do that, then you can do that. And I didn't know when they talked about the Nemesis system, like, if it was it that, like, I could kind of do that, but this is like totally integrated into everything. But the good news is, and where I want to give credit because credit is due, is that it was damn fun. Like, it was actually really cool to kind of target different guys. They threw us into a demo that was like midway through the game or something. I don't know. But and there was like a ton of controls that, you know, you're just like,
Are you in Wraith mode or Ranger mode?
I'm ducking in Wraith mode, and now I want to fire my arrow, and you're just, I mean, you know, it's the way it is. But
Did you subjugate anyone? Did you put the white hand?
I tried, but it didn't go well for me. Which, it's not hard to do that, but it just, you know, again, doing the controls and everything at the same time.
No.
It is a little bit of a learning curve, but if you're used to playing Assassin's Creed or something, which I'm not, you know, if you're used to playing that.
But that's the kind of the vibe you got from the controls?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And but what's cool is kind of the planning stages of, like, hey, here's this guy, and you can see how they're all interweaved and interconnected. That, like, if I could take this guy out, and he's like a level 5, so he's not that hard, then I could kind of take him out and then turn his buddy and get this to go against. So what's cool about it is that you plan all this stuff, and then I guess, you know, it kind of all goes to hell when you actually try to execute on it. So
That's awesome.
how you
like
react
chaos.
to it. Yeah, how you react to it and what happens. And the other thing they were telling me that I thought sounded really awesome is that there's no losing progress. So if you die, there's consequences to that.
The enemies level up.
They level up, and they
so cool.
also, like, know it and talk trash to you, and so it's like you're coming back. So I think that really fits well into the system because it creates this perpetual sense of purpose in everything that you're doing.
Is this some kind of joke? I killed you already.
No, that's a really interesting feedback loop because we're used to this world of for most games, where there's use this world of generous checkpoints or
Right.
F5, F7, quick load, quick save.
Right.
You're gonna get through the game. You're a content tourist. You're going through it. You up the difficulty if you.
Yeah.
There's still challenge, but
Sure.
it's a different thing.
Right.
Here, it's like, let's deal with consequence in a different manner.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly.
it's really interesting. Like, how much can you mess up your world? You know, if
Right.
you just purposely or by accident. But I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some safeguards.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some safeguards, but it is interesting to think that if you suck and you keep being persistent and bullish about it, that you're gonna just keep making it harder and harder and harder on yourself until you come up with a strategy to actually succeed.
Yeah, it's pretty
pretty cool.
interesting. I love the idea of. I asked for the subjugation because in the original trailer they had the thing where like basically they ambushed a guy and they activated all their like sleeper agents, and it's like, oh, I'm killing orcs, but I can also have an orc army. You know, I think that kind of
Yes.
stuff seems cool.
Yes, yes.
What did you think of the world? Because like Mordor is like, you know,
In terms of the
in
look,
the movie,
or-
yeah, in the movies Mordor is like, wow, this place sure is desolate.
To be honest with you, it didn't really stand out to
Yeah.
me in
A
terms
little drab.
of it's a little drab, and it wasn't very like that's a place I want to be. You know, like you know when you play Skyrim, you're like, oh, can I make that my wallpaper? You know, and you know this. I think they're going more for the atmosphere of stuff. It was very atmospheric, and there's so much going on too. But one of my major concerns about the game is just the that it's cross gen, so that it's you know it's on next gen consoles and last gen consoles. So they're not going to be able to make it as amazing as they could.
Well, except for one thing. Monolith is doing the next gen games, and another team's doing the last gen. And it actually worked out pretty well for Titanfall, all things considered. Everyone was so terrified, and then Titanfall 360 was like, wait, this is good too.
I understand, but I think like
You think it is holding
fundamentally,
it back?
I think fundamentally you can't have that type of
Well, there'll be sacrifices. Like Watch Dogs had way less people on the streets.
right.
You know?
Right.
The question is the Nemesis system that could have been done last gen? I think that's the bigger question. Where are the strides that we're gonna make?
Yeah, I think I think something like the Nemesis system could have been done last year. It's just it's a design choice. It's not a technical necessary. I mean, there's some AI things and a lot of things happening, but I don't get the sense that it's like
The
technical.
only thing I'm curious about is, do you ever play like a game of Civ, and like later on like turns take a long time to calculate? And that game's not real time. That game is just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
And you know, we've went from like half a gig of RAM to like 8 gigs of RAM on these new machines. And I know I'm not counting PC in this discussion. I'm sorry, but I mean just in the console scheme of things, I'm curious if that is something that like let's throw that on a core and something like that, and just have that thing chugging in the RAM and the whole world's. It's like when you're in an open world game, they're only simulating the small section around you. I'm curious how much of that. They're not going to have to animate all that stuff, but they're going to have to do all those variables, then so that if you go somewhere, that guy's going to have to be there. I'm curious. It's a real behind the scenes thing, but it gets my, my knuckle hairs are going.
Yeah.
They're going. Is this a next gen game?
Knuckle hair is good.
I think next gen games don't exist, but this one could be one.
Yeah.
Next gen games are a myth.
That's it. Well, I mean, that's a debate, but for another time. But I'm impressed by what I saw. I wish the combat was a little more smooth. It felt like a little cumbersome to me doing the combat, but again, I don't play the Assassin's Creeds of the world too much. I play Batman Arkham, the Arkham franchise.
It's the responsive combat.
Yeah, exactly. So it did feel a little like, and again, that could be just only spending 30 minutes with it and not really getting a chance to actually dive into the control and evolve my character.
When you did get to shoot the bow, did the bow stuff feel good?
It felt pretty good. It wasn't like particularly
stand out.
It's meant for like fast action, so in some games it's like you press the bow button and it's sort of as opposed to like again like a Skyrim where it's like you pull it out or
you aim.
You feel it and you feel like you're firing an arrow, like Thief, or something like that. It was more arcadey, I guess is the word to say.
That sounds fair. Yeah. Did you upgrade your sword at all? I know there's the sword runes or something like that, which sounds interesting, and you can name your sword, which I think is pretty rad.
Yes, and there's runes that you get for all the guys, and the higher level they are, the better the rune, and so you really kind of can craft your own story with it, which is cool. To answer your question, no, I didn't get the opportunity to kill one of the guys. I was defeated by him because another guy.
So he leveled up.
And another random chief guy came by and double teamed and totally kicked my ass. But again, I'm like freaking. I'm like, oh god, freaking out. But it was awesome.
So is this a must buy, or still are you beyond cautiously optimistic at this point?
I am beyond cautiously optimistic in regards to the Nemesis system. I definitely think that it's something I would like to experience because it sounds like something unique, like you said. I think it's fun, and I'll definitely give it a try. Whether or not it's going to be a type of game that sustains me and keeps me engaged and enthralled throughout, I think the cards are set up for it to do that. But I'll pass that judgment once I have an opportunity to actually play it.
Cool.
Yeah, and until then, I'll just continue to try to do my best Hobbit impression.
Oh, can we see it?
You're looking at it.
Okay. I can't. You win. Daniel Kaiser's just won E3, everyone. Congrats, sir.